Across the medieval battlefield, helmets mattered as much as swords. They shaped how men saw, breathed, and stayed alive under arrows and steel. By looking at 6 iconic designs, we can trace how tactics, armor, and technology changed what knights, soldiers, and levies wore on their heads. Together, they show armor's answer to mortal danger. We begin with one of the earliest clear medieval forms, the nasal helm. In the late 10th century, it developed in Western and Central Europe from the conical helmets of the Viking Age. It usually had a rounded or pointed bowl made from a single piece of metal with a narrow strip of iron over the bridge of the nose. The open front left the eyes, mouth, and cheeks exposed, which kept sight and breathing free for riders and foot soldiers. Norman knights in the Bayeux Tapestry, including those at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, appear with these helmets. Before the full plate existed, the nasal helm marked a clear step toward the armored knight. From there, armorers pushed toward fuller protection with the great helm. In the late 12th century, it emerged in Western Europe as a tall, almost cylindrical shell with narrow eye slits and drilled air holes. It covered the entire head and sat over a mail hood, turning the wearer into a compact block of steel. Crusader knights across France, England, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Crusader states adopted it through the 13th century. Manuscripts such as the Maciejowski Bible show their bucket-like outline in close-packed fighting, and similar helmets were likely present at battles like Bouvines in 1214. Heavy and restrictive, it still came to symbolize the high medieval holy war. Next in the line came the Bascinet, which tried to solve the problems of weight and vision. In the later 13th century, it grew from the simple steel skullcap, known as the cervelliere, into a more complete helmet with a closer fit. The skull was usually rounded or slightly pointed, and often carried a mail aventail that wrapped around the neck and shoulders. Later models gained visors, including long, pointed houndskull designs that appear in 14th century artwork. Knights and men-at-arms across France, England, and the Holy Roman Empire wore bascinets as the plate harness spread. Sources place them at major clashes such as Crécy in 1346 and Agincourt in 1415. Lighter and more comfortable than the great helm, the bascinet suited mobile, heavily armored fighters. Alongside these enclosed helmets, another shape served the mass of infantry, the Kettle Hat from the early 12th century. It appears in Western Europe, with examples from England and France, as a rounded crown with a wide brim sloping down on all sides. That brim offered defense against arrows, stones, and downward blows, which made the Kettle Hat a natural choice for spearmen, crossbowmen, and archers. The Maciejowski Bible and the Lattrell Psalter show ordinary soldiers and pressed peasants wearing this pattern in crowded battle scenes. Cheap to make and simple to fit, it became closely linked with foot soldiers rather than mounted elites. As armor for the body became smoother and complete, the Sallet appeared to match it. Originating in Italy and the German lands in the early 15th century, it quickly spread across much of Western Europe. A typical sallet had a rounded skull and a long tail that dropped down the back of the neck. Many versions added a small visor to guard the eyes and face, and some were worn with a separate bivor that shielded the jaw and throat. By the middle of the 15th century, sallets were shown widely in sources like the Talbot Shrewsbury Book, with both knights and infantry using them in the later stages of the 100 Years' War. The helmet worked well with a full plate harness, giving a mix of protection, movement, and field of view. At the top end of late medieval helmet craft stood the armet first. Appearing in Italy in the early 15th century, It was designed to lock neatly into a full suit of plate. Its key feature was a pair of hinged cheek pieces that swung around the face and fastened under the chin, forming a close-fitting shell. A visor at the front and a rounded cap completed the protection. Some armets carried a small lifting peg, so a knight could raise the visor with a gloved hand during combat or at tournaments. By the mid-15th century, this kind of helmet was common among high-status men-at-arms in Italy, France, and Burgundy. It appears in works such as the triumphs of Emperor Maximilian and around the Battle of Castillon in 1453. These 6 helmets trace centuries of change in steel. Each answered a different problem of war. Subscribe for more